Hey guys, welcome to Flirtin'. My name is Aaron Days. You can find me all over Twitter at AKNazer. You can chat with me about this or any other questions you guys might have. This is going to be a really cool episode. We're using this image by Eva. It's a really, really cool image in which we've got some atmosphere. She's one of our winners from last week's contest. So if you guys want us to edit one of your images, all you got to do is enter our contest. We do them every single week, and you can find it on the sidebar on flirtin.com where the contests are. So this week we're going to be today we're going to be putting some atmosphere into this. I'm going to show you guys how to make a brush that's going to look like fog or smoke or something like that. Very, very cool, and we're going to do it out of the image that we're actually going to wind up putting the fog into. Sounds really complex. It's a little bit more simple in actual practice, so I'll just show you guys how to do it. Okay, here's our image by Eva, and I really like all this fog that's, like coming up from the top here, and we can see these dust particles and things like that. Really, really cool. What happens if you want to add a little bit more of that, though? Like you want to make it look like there was a little bit more smoke. Well, I wouldn't use like a regular soft round brush in Photoshop, something like this. The reason why is because it just looks like a Photoshop brush. It doesn't look real in any way. It just kind of looks like, oh, he did that in Photoshop. Good job. It doesn't really look that good. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a custom brush that is going to look a lot more real. Let's just go ahead and delete that. Now, I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate this layer to a new document. So I'm going to right click on my background, say duplicate layer, and then we're going to put that as a new document. There we go. So this new document I'm free to just mess around with however I want. I'm going to go ahead and convert it to black and white because whenever you're creating a brush, a custom brush, color doesn't really come into play. It's just black and white. So Shift Command U is going to convert that to black and white. Now what I want to do is here in the middle, I want to create like a lighter area with some like darker areas surrounding it. And this is just Photoshop defines the custom brushes as basically being like light on dark or dark on light. So this is what I'm going to wind up doing with this image, and then we're going to convert that into a brush. So it's really cool. I'm going to use the clone stamp tool, so S for the clone stamp tool, and we can use layer blending modes like multiply or screen to get those to show up. And so we'll show you with our clone stamp brush. I'm going to just choose to clone stamp right there and paint in a screen blending mode, and we can see that just kind of like shows up right over top of our subject there. You want to try to avoid any type of angle, any type of document boundaries. So like if I screen from up here, you can see how it just kind of like ends right over here because that's the top of the image. If you can avoid that, that is really something you should avoid. If you can avoid that, just do that. Just go ahead and just do it. The reason is because those are just going to wind up showing up in the brush in the end, and they're just going to make things look a little bit worse. Alright, so I'm just kind of clone stamping around here and duplicating some patterns over and over again, and I'm in screen blending mode. So let's change this to multiply. And you guys, I just want you to like have a blast. Do whatever you think is fun in this world. Like it's not a big deal if this looks exactly like mine. And if I did this 10 times in a row, it would look differently every time. So it's just keep in mind it's not really a big deal that it looks like mine. But using these blending modes, you can see how things start to like fade out, kind of like interestingly and a little bit more of like in a natural way than they might. If you want to undo just something, just hit Shift Option or Command Option Z, and it'll just undo. So things are kind of fading away in like just a little bit more of an interesting way than if I were just painting on there, because it's actually using the screen blending mode and the multiply blending mode to blend things with one another. So we just get a little bit more of an interesting type of pattern here. All right, and what I'm looking for is this is not supposed to look like a final image here. Like we're making a brush here right now. Let's just go back to screen again. There we go. Paint a little bit, some more of that in there. Cool. And then back to our multiply. Okay, so if you guys have never created a custom brush before, what I'm doing might look like pretty weird to you, but in a second it's all going to make sense. We're just creating something that doesn't look like a regular Photoshop soft round brush, and the reason being is because we want all that we want all the weird randomness and things like that in there. It's going to make the brush look a lot better, and it's going to make it look a little bit more like smoke or fog or whatever it is that you want. All right, there we go, and we're looking pretty good. Now let's go ahead and define, let's see, that's a little bit, there we go, and we'll just change this back to screen, clone stamp from there. I want it to kind of blend in there. Just have fun with it. Do this a few different times. So with your brush now, so this is basically what's going to become the custom brush that's going to wind up shaping the fog in our image, which looks pretty cool. Now on this layer, I'm going to go ahead and hit Command I to invert that, because the way the brushes work is it actually prefers it if it is dark on a light background. So the light won't become the brush, only where it's dark will become a brush. But this isn't exactly what we want. It doesn't look, there's not enough contrast here. So what we're going to do is I'm going to grab a levels adjustment layer, and I'm going to drag my darks, and we're going to make them even darker. So we're going to take our black point and just bring it up a little bit. Now I'm going to go ahead and bring it way up to right about there. And the reason why is because I don't want, remember earlier we talked about if you create a custom brush that has like definable edges around it, you're going to see those edges when you actually wind up painting with your brush. So in order to avoid that, what I did is I grabbed my levels adjustment layer and I cranked it from the left all the way to the right here, and now I can see anywhere that's not pure white. So all I have to do is create a layer above my background layer and make sure that I just paint with pure white just around the edges here, just like that. And what it's going to do is it's just going to make sure that when I do wind up using this custom brush, that it's not going to have visible edges. There we go. That is just going to fade off naturally in every way. Cool. So this levels adjustment layer is just to like see what I'm doing. It's just to help me out a little bit, because without it, it's just kind of hard to see it. Okay, we're going to double click here, and then I'm going to bring this right back here somewhere that gives us a bit of contrast. There we go. That looks pretty good, and we're ready. So this is what's going to be, it's just a random pattern of nothing basically at this point, but it's going to make a really cool brush. So we're going to hit Shift and click on all those layers and hit Command E to merge them together. I'm going to go to Edit, and then we're going to go to Define Brush Preset. Okay, and we're going to call this Fog Brush 1 and hit OK. So that just created a fog brush. Now, what do we actually do with this brush? It's not ready to go just yet, but it's almost there. So we're going to hit F a couple times to get out of this full screen, and then I'm going to go back to this layer with Eva, and we're going to actually start to use our fog brush on this layer. So let's go ahead and create a new layer. Now, if I just make my brush a little bit smaller and start painting around, this is the brush that I just created. You can see that's the pattern there. And if I click, you can see the pattern just repeats. Now, the couple of problems being that if I just click and hold it down, this is what it does. We don't have any like cool brush dynamics built into this. So what we're going to do is go down to our brush menu now, and we're going to like add some sophistication to this shape that we just made. So we made the shape. Now we need to say like what's it going to do when we actually paint with it. Let's go to Window and down here to Brush, and now we're going to turn in something like our shape dynamics. I'm going to our size jitter to be up. This is going to make some of these larger and some of these smaller. We're going to take our angle jitter and we're going to turn that up. This is going to make sure it just rotates an angle. So you can see already now it's going to look a lot more random than before because it's rotating around. Very, very cool. All right, we'll turn our minimum diameter down, meaning it's going to allow me to make some really small things if I want to do that. All right, our scattering, let's go ahead and turn this scattering up, and that's just going to kind of scatter these little things around. There we go. So what we're looking for is, something that's relatively random looking, and I think we're getting closer and closer to there. The next thing we're going to turn on is transfer. I'm going to turn our flow jitter to 0, but I'm going to turn my control to pen pressure. So the harder I press, the more is going to come down. And we'll just turn that up just a little bit. The less I press, less comes out of my brush. All right, so there we go. And if you want to turn your scattering down or whatever, these are just going to get you started, but I would recommend you kind of like play around with whatever works for you. You can see it's a pretty random pattern right now. And the cool thing about this, if I zoom in, there's actual definition in what I'm painting. This is not like a soft round brush. You can see there's shape and there's form to whatever I'm painting, but it still looks really random. So that was the whole point of what we've been doing. Now, if you get it to about where you want it, which is what we've done now, I'm going to go ahead and click here, and I'm going to go to New Brush Preset, and we're just going to call this Fog Brush 2. There we go, and let's hit OK. So this is now, when I save the first one, I just defined the shape of it. Now I define the brush as a whole and the movement and the actions and things like that it's going to take. Okay, let's go ahead and hit Command A and hit Delete to get rid of that. So I'm going to use my brush tool here to create this fog, but I'm also going to use my eraser tool. So brush tool is going to create some of this fog. We're just painting around here. But I'm going to hit E for my eraser tool. I'm going to right click, and then I'm going to go down to my very last brush that's in this menu here, and we can see it's Fog Brush 2. So not only are we using the brush tool as that fog brush, but I'm also using the eraser as the fog brush. So we get kind of like a double bit of fog. This is really cool. Let's just go ahead and create a new layer. I'm going to fill this all with white, and I will show you what it looks like in like a bright red. Okay? So our brush tool is going to create this random fog, just like that. Okay? We just created this brush from scratch just now. And I'm going to hit E for my eraser tool, and Well, E for the eraser tool. Sorry. I didn't create a new layer with that brush on there. Okay, new layer. It was erasing the white away, and we were seeing what was under there. We don't want that. Okay, new layer. We're going to paint on fog just like this, and then I'm going to hit E for the eraser tool, and it's going to erase that fog away, but it's going to do so with the same type of brush. So we get something that's like super random and, you know, just has some nice form, but it's just really random at the same time. And using the same technique, make your brush larger, smaller, whatever, you're able to get some really nice detail in here that doesn't look like you just did it in Photoshop. So that's basically what we're going to do. All right, so let's go ahead and delete all those layers, grab my brush tool. So we're going to hit B for the brush tool. I'm going to grab the color that's here in the actual light itself, and then we're going to start painting up at the top. And again, we're just using the same brush that we used before. So some of these areas it's going to look better, some of these it's going to look worse. We're going to need to change it in some of the areas. Not a big deal. There we go. Let's make it a little bit smaller up here. So like this doesn't look real, right? So you grab your eraser tool, and with the same brush now, you just erase it away. It's still going to be like at a nice random pattern. You just erase it away till it does look real. All right, there we go. Oh, shoot. I'm on my background layer. Never do that. Never go to your background layer. If you ever do that, go to Window and down to History. I say I don't have a problem with that. Go all the way up to the very top, and you can just click, and that'll go back to the original image. Okay, there we go. Let's create a new layer this time and actually do what I'm supposed to do. So here with our brush tool, we're just going to paint white here on the top. There we go. Just like that. You can make your brush larger or smaller. But you can see how much better this looks. It doesn't look like, you know, a Photoshop brush. It looks like something that actually, you know, is atmosphere in the air. And it helps because we're using the lighting in this image in a way that, you know, there actually would be light lighting this up because we can see it. Okay, now let's just use our eraser tool. Same again, same brush. I'm on a new layer now, so it's not going to do something totally weird. And it's going to just erase it away in like a nice, even manner. So we did that. I mean, the cool thing is it doesn't really look like it was done in Photoshop. I'm all about creating fog and things like this and doing it in real life, for sure. But sometimes you just want to maybe just enhance it a little bit in Photoshop. So that's where these really interesting like brushes and all these other cool techniques come into play. There we go. Maybe just bring some right around there. Very cool. So just using this brush that we just created as well as the eraser tool, we're able to get a heck of a lot more atmosphere into this photo. Not only that, but you can control it exactly how you want it controlled. I'll lower the opacity of that just a little bit. So we can see very, very cool. Now, if you wanted to do the same thing with those little specks, you could do that too. Let's just switch back to our other image. There we go. This is, we'll just create a new layer over the top of this. We'll fill that with white. All right, and we'll go ahead and full screen this. Let's just create this as like a really small brush now. You could use a black, there we go. You could use just a regular black brush here if you wanted like a regular soft round brush, but I'm going to use these tiny little, I'm just going to use the brush that we actually just made. And I'm going to make like little dust bunnies in the air, something like this. Cool. And we're going to go to Edit again to define brush preset, and we'll call this dust. Cool. And now let's go back to this original image. We've got our dust brush now. We just need to go back into our window, go down to brush to change a couple settings. Shape dynamics, you want your size jitter all the way up here, right? And you want your scattering to be turned on. Let me just make sure that this actually does what I want. Oh, you can see the outline of the brush. Can you see the square of that brush? The reason is because we didn't follow our own rules. We just need to make sure that, let's hit F for full screen here. We just need to be sure that you can't see anything outside of it. You can see that the background, that's actually not a pure white background. It's like a light gray. So I'm going to just make sure that my white point right here is actually set to the background. Apparently I didn't fill it with white. Apparently I filled it with light gray. All right, now we're going to do the same. Same thing again. Sorry. We're going to go here and shift click all these, hit Command E, and go to Edit, Define Brush Preset. So it should look better. Dust 2. It should actually work a little bit better now. Okay, so our brush, we're going to right click and go to Dust 2, go to Window, down to Brush. All right, so now you can see it's just little spots. Sorry, That was my bad. I hope you forgive me. All right, we'll turn our size jitter up, minimum diameter down, and same thing. Basically all the same settings as we had before. And now we're just going to paint, and it's going to paint little dust specks. You can turn your scattering a little bit higher if you want. All right, let's just do this on a new layer, and we'll just call these dust specks. So now with the same technique, I'm painting on more specks in there, which is going to help sell the effect even more. All right, so on a new layer, we have all these little specks in here and some atmosphere. So I'm just using the same things that were already present in this image to just kind of like go a little bit further with them. And that's a really great way to use Photoshop. To like use elements that are already in the photo, just enhance them a little bit if you can. So we just did both of those with a custom brush. And because I'm feeling in a good mood, I'll just give you guys a custom brush. You can download them and link it below on Phlearn.com. All right, there we go. Let's do a little bit of color toning with this image because I think it will work really well. Just grab a levels adjustment layer, grab our blue channel, we'll pull that up just a little bit, put some yellows in there. We're going to do this on top of our white, by the way. And let's put some green in there, and then we'll go to the red channel and we'll push this a little bit more towards red. There we go. Very cool. So just a little bit of color fun in there, just to give it a little bit more of an artistic feel to it. All right, and that is it, guys. So creating some cool custom brushes that are going to help bring that atmosphere into the photo. Here's the before and the after. Didn't take too long, and the cool thing is you have these brushes now. You can right-click, let's go to a new layer, and window down here to brush. I'm still on this same dust brush, so you can go here and go to new brush preset and just call this Dust 3. So now you have these brushes and you can use them for any image you want to. They're going to work on any single image, and you just had to create them with one, and then you can use them over and over and over again. And that's it, guys. Thanks so much for watching Phlearn. I hope you learned a ton. You guys can use this for any of your images. The best places to use them are when light is going to be coming from behind your subject, because that's when the light actually hits all those particles in the air and really makes them shine really nicely. So you can use those particles, use that as a hint to add this fog and atmosphere and things like that where the light is actually hitting, and it's going to make sure to look really, really good, really real. Thanks so much for watching Phlearn, guys. This is the end of it. If you do use any of these brushes and edit your images, please leave them in a comment down below because I'd love to see them, and I want to see you guys get better and better and better. Thanks so much, guys. We'll Phlearn you later. Bye, everyone.